Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. The distant hum of the Exodus engines reverberated through the crystalline halls, a soft yet constant reminder of the Draenei's endless journey. Valen sat in the heart of the ship, his legs crossed beneath him, eyes closed, but his mind was adrift in a plane far beyond the confines of the physical world. He was deep in communion with the light, seeking guidance for the uncertain path ahead. And then it came a vision, unlike any he had experienced before. A sky flame, Azeroth burning under a relentless assault. Demons swarming the lands like locusts, laying waste to every living thing. The Burning Legion had returned, stronger, fiercer than ever. But what caught Valen's breath, what sent a chill down his spine, was the vision of the Orcs. Once the Draenei's greatest enemies, their twisted forms under the Legion's corruption were etched in Valen's memory. Yet, in this vision, they were not enemies. They were warriors, fighting beside his people, not against them. And at their helm, Thrall, the warchief of the Horde. Valen opened his eyes, his heart pounding. He rose slowly, gripping his staff for balance. The weight of the prophecy pressed heavily upon him. The future of Azeroth now depended not just on the Draenei, but on an alliance that had once seemed impossible. He summoned his council, their faces lined with concern as he recounted the vision. "The Burning Legion returns," Valen said gravely, his voice steady but heavy with the burden of truth. "But we will not stand alone. The Orcs. We must fight alongside them if we are to survive." A murmur of dissent rippled through the room. Yul, the young but fierce paladin, spoke first. "The Orcs? After everything they've done to our people? How can we trust them?" Valen's gaze softened. He understood their hesitation. He, too, bore the scars of the Orcs' savagery from their time in Outland. But the future, he knew, was not bound by the chains of the past. "We have no choice. The Legion is too powerful. Thrall is not like the Orcs of old. He seeks peace, just as we do." Yul's eyes flickered with uncertainty, but she held her tongue. The other council members, though grim-faced, nodded in reluctant agreement. Valen knew that convincing his own people would be only the first of many challenges. The Horde, fractured and divided, would not easily accept the Draenei either. Yet the vision was clear. He could not ignore it. The following day, Valen set out for Orgrimmar. The journey was perilous, with demonic incursions becoming more frequent as the Legion's shadow stretched across Azeroth. But Valen was determined. The future of their world depended on this alliance. When he arrived in Orgrimmar, the city was as he remembered it, rugged, a sprawling fortress of iron and stone, filled with the clamor of warriors and smiths. The tension in the air was palpable as Valen and his small retinue of Draenei were escorted through the city gates. Orcs cast suspicious glances at the newcomers, their hands instinctively resting on the hilts of their weapons. Thrall awaited them in the center of Grommash Hold, his tall, imposing figure standing beneath the great banners of the Horde. His expression was guarded but curious as Valen approached. "Valen," Thrall said, inclining his head respectfully. "It has been many years since our paths crossed." "Too many," Valen replied, his voice soft yet firm. "And now, they must converge again." Thrall's eyes darkened, his brow furrowing. "I have heard rumors. The Burning Legion a broken bar." Valen nodded. "They return, and they are stronger than ever." "We cannot fight them alone, Thrall." "Azeroth cannot survive without unity." Thrall's face remained unreadable, his thoughts a storm behind his blue eyes. "You ask for an alliance, then? After all the blood that was spilled between our people?" Valen met his gaze with unwavering resolve. "The past is behind us. The future demands more of us than hatred." For a long moment, silence stretched between them, the weight of centuries of conflict hanging in the air. Then, Thrall sighed, a deep, weary sound. "I have long sought peace between our peoples. But not all Orcs share my vision. There are Grosh among the Aima who believe we should stand alone." The mention of Grosh Hellscream sent a ripple of unease through Valen. He had heard of the young, brash Orc who sought to reignite the fires of old wars. Grosh was a warrior through and through, and his disdain for compromise was well known. "But you are a Wargif," Vlin said, his tone resolute. "The Horde will follow you." Thrall's lips twitched in a humorless smile. "They will follow me into battle, yes, but convincing them to trust the Draenei a broken bar that will not be easy." "Nothing worth saving ever is," Vlin replied quietly. Over the next several days, preparations began for the war against the Burning Legion. Thrall called a great council, summoning leaders from across the Horde. As expected, Grosh was among the first to voice his opposition. "Fight alongside the Draenei." Grosh spat, his eyes blazing with fury. "Have you forgotten the blood they spilled in Outland? We're Orcs. We fight for our own, not for these alien cowards." The room erupted in shouts, some in agreement with Grosh, others calling for calm. Thrall raised a hand, silencing the crowd. "I have not forgotten our past," Thrall said, his voice a low rumble. "But I will not let it dictate our future. The Burning Legion is a threat to all of Azeroth, not just the Horde. We cannot face them alone." Grosh scowled but fell silent, though the defiance in his eyes remained. Vlin watched the exchange, his heart heavy. This alliance, fragile as it was, would be tested at every turn. The hatred between their races ran deep, and even now, it threatened to tear them apart before they could face the real enemy. Despite the internal strife, the Orcs and Draenei began to train together, preparing for the battles to come. It was an uneasy partnership, fraught with tension and distrust. But as the days passed, a slow, begrudging respect began to form between them. Yul, though initially wary of the Orcs, found herself drawn to their fierce dedication. One Orc in particular, Durak, the son of Diorotan, caught her attention. He was not like the other Orcs, who sneered and spat at the Draenei. Durak was quiet, observant, and surprisingly thoughtful. One evening, after a particularly grueling training session, Yul approached him. "You fight well," she said, her voice tentative. Durak glanced at her, his tusked face inscrutable. "So do you, Draenei." For a moment, they stood in awkward silence, the weight of their shared history hanging between them. "We were enemies once," Yul said softly. "But now, we must stand together." Durak grunted, his gaze distant. "My father believed in peace between our peoples. I fought for the Horde in Outland, and I saw the destruction we wrought. It is not a path I wish to walk again." Yul nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Then we're of the same mind." From that day forward, Yul and Durak trained together, their bond growing stronger with each passing battle. They were a symbol of what their people could become, a united force against a common enemy. The peace, however, was short-lived. As the allied forces marched toward Mount Hyjal, reports began to pour in of demonic activity along the borders of Ashenvale. The Burning Legion was on the move. The first attack came at dawn. The skies above Ashenvale darkened as a swarm of demons descended upon the Draenei and Arc encampments. The ground shook as fellhounds and infernals tore through the forest, their roars echoing through the trees. Vlin and Thrall stood side by side as the battle unfolded. The demons were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. For every one they struck down, two more took its place. "Hold the line," Thrall bellowed, his voice carrying over the chaos. He raised his hammer, summoning the power of the elements. Lightning crackled from the sky, striking down demons with deadly precision. Vlin, his eyes glowing with the light, raised his staff, calling forth a shield of holy energy that enveloped the allied forces, protecting them from the worst of the demonic onslaught. Despite their combined might, the demons were overwhelming. The battle raged for hours, with both Draenei and Orcs fighting desperately to hold their ground. As the sun began to set, the tide of battle finally began to turn. Yul, her armor covered in blood and dirt, fought side by side with Durak, their movements synchronized as they cut through the demons with brutal efficiency. In the end, the allied forces emerged victorious, though at great cost. The bodies of Orcs and Draenei alike littered the battlefield, their blood mingling in the dirt. The survivors were weary, their spirits battered, but they had won the day. Thrall stood among the fallen, his face grim as he surveyed the carnage. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. Velen nodded, his heart heavy. The Legion will not stop until Azeroth is ashes. The march toward Mount Hyjal continued, but the alliance between the Draenei and Orcs had been forged in blood. They had fought together, bled together, and now they were bound by a common purpose to defend their world from the coming darkness. In the heart of Orgrimmar, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The great city, usually bustling with the daily grind of hard life, now seemed to hold its breath. Thrall, the Wargif, was a solitary figure atop the central platform of the throne room, surrounded by his trusted advisors. The air crackled with the weight of impending conflict as Thrall listened to the harsh words of Grosh Hailscream, the Draenei. Grosh's voice was laced with contempt. "You would have us ally with the very ones who betrayed us on Outland? You cannot be serious." Thrall's gaze was unyielding, though his expression was wary. He had always been a warrior, but now he found himself thrust into the role of peacemaker. A role that seemed almost as foreign as the idea of allying with the Draenei. "The Burning Legion's return changes everything. We must set aside our differences if we are to stand a chance." The room erupted into a cacophony of voices. Some orcs were eager to join forces, seeing it as a strategic necessity. Others, like Grosh, were adamantly opposed, their anger at past wrongs burning hot. Thrall raised his hand, calling for silence. "I understand the distrust," Thrall said, his voice steady. "But our survival depends on unity. The Draenei are not the same as they were before. Velen has shown us a path forward, one that requires courage and forgiveness. We cannot afford to let our past grievances divide us now." Grosh's face twisted into a scowl. "And what if Velen's vision is wrong? What if we're leading ourselves into a trap?" Thrall's gaze hardened. "I trust Velen. He has never led us astray. If we do nothing, we will be overrun and destroyed. The choice is ours, to fight together or to perish alone." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of the decision. Finally, Grosh snorted in frustration. "Fine. But if this alliance fails, it will be on your head." Thrall gave a nod of acknowledgement. The tension in the room eased slightly, though it was clear that many orcs were still uneasy about the alliance. Thrall knew that the true test would come when the Draenei arrived. Days later, the Exodar descended upon Orgrimmar, its majestic form casting a shadow over the city. Velen and his delegation stepped off their ship, their presence a striking contrast to the ruggedness of the orcs. The two groups met in the city square, where the air was filled with a palpable mixture of curiosity and hostility. Velen and Thrall stood side by side, their shared purpose clear despite the stark differences in their appearance. As the Draenei approached, their luminescent robes shimmering under the sun, the orcs stared in wary silence. "Welcome to Orgrimmar," Thrall said, his voice carrying a tone of authority that belied his own internal turmoil. "We have much to discuss." The meetings that followed were fraught with tension. The Draenei and Orcs shared a common goal, but old wounds ran deep. Velen and Thrall worked tirelessly to bridge the gap, emphasizing the importance of unity over division. They spoke of strategy, of battles to come, and of the dire necessity of setting aside old animosities. In private meetings between Velen and Thrall, their conversations were often intense, but there was an unspoken bond of mutual respect. Velen's wisdom and Thrall's determination were the keystones of the alliance. They spoke of the Burning Legion's plans, of the need to unite their forces for a massive assault on the demonic invaders. The Orcs, despite their initial reluctance, began to see the necessity of the alliance. They witnessed the Draenei's resolve and their readiness to fight alongside them. Slowly, the animosity that had once seemed insurmountable began to give way to a grudging respect. The time for action came swiftly. Reports of the Legion's advance reached them with alarming speed. The demonic forces were gathering near the borders of the eastern kingdoms, their presence a dark stain on the landscape. The joint forces of the Draenei and Orcs prepared for war, their combined armies forming a formidable force. In the weeks leading up to the battle, the combined forces trained together, their efforts focusing on coordinating their strategies and overcoming the physical and psychological barriers that had once separated them. There were clashes and disagreements, but there were also moments of camaraderie and understanding. Warriors from both sides fought alongside one another, their shared sweat and blood forging a bond that went beyond words. When the day of the battle arrived, the sky above Azeroth was darkened by the smoke of war. The combined army stood ready, their ranks a mosaic of green-skinned orcs and ethereal Draenei. They faced the Legion's forces with a grim determination, their unity a powerful statement against the encroaching darkness. The battlefield was a chaos of noise and fury. Demons charged with savage ferocity, their claws and fire raining down on the allied forces. The orcs, with their brute strength and relentless aggression, cut through the demonic ranks, while the Draenei's disciplined magic and precise strikes provided a counterbalance. Together, they formed an unbreakable wall against the Legion's onslaught. In the thick of the battle, Velen and Thrall fought side by side. Velen's holy light flared against the darkness, his powers mending wounds and smiting foes. Thrall wielded his shamanistic powers with fierce precision, summoning storms and earthquakes to disrupt the Legion's advance. Their coordination was seamless, a testament to the unity they had forged. As the battle raged on, the Legion's commander, Kilger, emerged from the fray. His presence was a dark omen, his power a terrifying force of destruction. He was a towering figure of malevolence, his eyes glowing with the corrupt energy of the twisting nether. The allied forces knew that defeating Kilger was essential to their victory. Thrall and Velen faced Kilger together, their combined might a beacon of hope in the darkness. The fight was brutal and unrelenting. Kilger's strength was overwhelming, but the unity of the Draenei and Orcs proved to be a powerful counter. Their attacks were synchronized, their tactics honed through weeks of preparation. In a final, climactic battle, Velen and Thrall combined their forces in a desperate assault. Velen's light clashed with Kilger's dark magic, creating a blinding spectacle of power. Thrall summoned the fury of the elements, unleashing a torrent of elemental forces upon the demon lord. With a mighty roar, Kilger fell, his body disintegrating into the swirling chaos of the nether. The battlefield fell silent. The demons, seeing their commander defeated, began to retreat. The combined forces of the Draenei and Orcs stood victorious, their unity having forged a path to triumph. The cost of the battle was high, but the price of failure would have been far greater. In the aftermath, the victors gathered on the battlefield, their faces a mix of exhaustion and relief. The alliance, forged in the crucible of war, had proven its strength. Velen and Thrall stood together, their expressions a mix of pride and weariness. "We have achieved what many thought impossible," Thrall said, his voice carrying the weight of the victory and the loss. "We have proven that unity can overcome even the greatest of foes." Velen nodded, his gaze steady, "And we have forged a bond that will endure beyond this conflict." The future of Azeroth depends on our continued alliance. As the sun rose over the battlefield, it cast a hopeful light on the new dawn of unity. The Draenei and Orcs, once bitter enemies, had fought together to save their world. Their alliance, though born of necessity, had become a testament to the power of unity and the strength that can be found in overcoming old grievances. The future was uncertain, but for the moment, they had achieved a great victory. The story of their alliance would be remembered as a beacon of hope, a reminder that even the deepest of divides can be bridged in the face of a common enemy. And as the forces of Azeroth prepared for the challenges that lay ahead, they did so with the knowledge that together, they could face whatever darkness might come.